Hi, it's Carl here. Just wanted to do a brief video on an autumn trip to Kinston Lacy. So this sort of mimics the video I did what seems like an age ago now. I think it's about June this year. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was. There's the Katsura that I showed in the last video. Still very green, actually. I think this is very an interesting location again, because in case you missed the other video, it's in Dorset in the UK. It's Compton Acres, its sort of neighbour, that gets all the publicity, I would say. If you sort of Google search, that's what comes up. Whereas actually this place is absolutely lovely. And interestingly, and a great tip really, it's now November, it's early November, and yet there's still a lot to offer here. I can only think it's so sheltered, and in its location has sort of held back a lot of the leaves from falling, perhaps. So this is Cotonuito, for example. So on my tree at home, all the leaves pretty much have gone now. But here, there's still a few clinging on. And just walking through this few trees here, you can see it's amazing actually. There must be so little wind or whatever here that the leaves are still clinging to the tree, even at this point in the season. So quite unusual really. Of course, there are trees that are more advanced, because it does really depend a lot on which cultivar we're talking about. But I thought I'd get here and it'd be sort of a bit of a sad tale, but not at all, and a lovely day as well to visit. So that's Villa Torrento. Again, that's another of the smaller leaf linear lobum varieties, I think they're called, that seems to hang on to its leaves like the Cotonuito for longer. So I don't really like generalizations, but I've got to say that the bigger the leaves are, the earlier they seem to disappear. I do love maples though, as you've probably gathered by now, but even with no leaves on, some of the shapes and the twisted nature of them is just phenomenal really. As a kind of an ornament almost. It looks very, very good. Another sort of similar long leaf variety here. In fact, they have a really good collection of these, to be honest with you. Obviously whoever planted this was a fan. They're just walking through. The sun's coming out as well. I mean, just fantastic. You can see here actually that there's a lot of these trees have a lot of moss on them. So again, that implies to me they don't get much direct sunlight, which is going to kind of affect them. But all the better for it, I would say. If you remember if you watched my previous video, which I'll try and link in at the bottom, that was a kind of that's the proper form on that side. That's the reversion, which is interesting because that's lost its leaves earlier than the rest of the tree. So all these things add a bit more interest really. Nice examples of still some lovely colours to be had. Again, lots of moss. Good to see actually after the summer we had that the trees have done very well. If you look at this fella over here, It may have lost its leaves, but I know you can see that, but it's absolutely brimming with buds, ready for a great showing in the spring. So you know they're sort of healthy and doing well. Here we have what I thought was Makai Yatsubusha or something very similar. Again, you go to these places and the trees are so old that even the dwarf ones are much taller than I am. But clearly an old tree. You can tell from looking at the branches in detail. Just absolutely gorgeous. So they've hung onto their leaves really well. And here, one of my favourites, I mean a favourite the world over really, is Shishigashira. And even though the name kind of means lion's mane, there's not even many of the leaves that are turned to that golden kind of colour yet. They're getting there. They're getting there. But again, a bit of a generalisation, but the smaller leaf acers do seem to retain them somewhat better. Again, the form of these is just lovely, the habit, the way they grow in this sort of upturned vase shape. Lovely green stems, a little bit of moss there as well. But absolutely happy with that. And again, just a hint, I won't be able to come back here in a couple of weeks, but that would probably be perfection, I would think, because they've all turned a very bright yellow. And a bit like the Kotonuito, as I commented before, it's amazing actually how they've planted nice groups of trees together, which is quite nice to see really, rather than just individual ones, how they sort of fit together as a little forest of the same cultivar. Just a gorgeous place to be. Very interesting as well, as I may have mentioned, that here we have the Japanese garden, which I've taken lots of stills pictures and some video of. You can't go in there, it's a shame. But here, you've also just got a really nice planting of trees really. And then you come to these, which are under the canopy, very, very sheltered by these big trees here. And again, really, really sort of late to change colour and drop their leaves. Very, very unusual. But very nice, and certainly something to put in the calendar. The benefit of these videos, apart from trying to share a little bit of experience with people, is I've got a really good record now of what and when to go. So for those who watch the other videos, Westernburt mid-October was about perfection, and I've found that previous years too really. Batsford probably a week earlier. Seems to be a bit more advanced than Westernburt in the UK. And here, late October, early November, why not really? Interesting, again, this is just my theory. It's based on experience rather than science, often as not. These are Shiraswanums, sort of broad-leafed acers, just bursting with buds ready for next year, which bodes very well. But again, these cultivars here have lost all of their leaves. Whether it's because there's more nutrients to withdraw from them or some other element, I'm not sure. Whereas this one kind of hasn't. So if I remember rightly on my previous video, I think I commented that this could be something like Jordan, a sort of more modern version of some of the Shiraswanums really. But still some very interesting coloration to be had. So I hope you enjoyed that. I've recorded this live because that's what I did the last time, really, just to get a bit of a feel for the ambience of the place. But still lovely, and one of my favourite places to go in the UK, really. So take care, and as ever, if you want to like and subscribe, that would be fantastic, and the notification bell will inform you about any more videos I upload. Again, sorry it's all based on the UK seasons, but that's where I live, I suppose, really. But there's plenty out there for other people that may be spring where you are in the world, so take a look at the playlists and see what you can find. Lots to talk about over winter as well here, so that's coming, and I'll be back here without any shadow of a doubt next spring, really, to look at the spring colours here, so that'll just add to the collection. So take care, and we'll see you soon.